evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world, and welcome to Real People. Good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. Thank you for joining us tonight. We have a very special guest, Anton from Pretoria, and we're going to be talking about his life, his journey in life, and as we do in Real People. And Anton is also providing a wonderful little donation towards Patrick's charity, which involves 10 makeovers. You see, Anton is a hairdresser or hairstylist, and he's got a company called On the Edge Living Hairdressing. And the auction that we're holding tonight, which you'll be able to participate in the side chat, involves, as I say, a cut color makeover, and I'll get Anton to describe it more fully for you. If you want to bid, there are up to 10 of these makeovers being offered. What you can do is just put bid in the side chat, the amount that you want to bid, and the number of makeovers that you want to bid for. So if you want, say, 5 makeovers, you might say 1,000 Rand by 5 for 5 makeovers. And I'm going to get the moderators, it looks like Dwayne is the moderator at the moment, to keep a record of the bids. Just for the record, a lady's makeover with color and cut is normally between about 1,200 to 3,000 Rand, and a gent's is about 750 Rand. Okay, now let's get Anton on. Here we go. Hi Anton, thank you for joining us.
Good evening, how are you doing?
Very, very well, and good to have you here on Real People. Now, tell me a bit about your early life in South Africa, growing up as a little boy, and because you were basically born in about the 1970s, weren't you?
Yes, 1973.
Okay.
I was the baby of 6 children. Parents were teachers. They were all over South Africa, really, where they were needed. We grew up alongside mother, who was a teacher, so I would be in one of those big prams with the big wheels in the classroom, unlike today. Yeah, but I think the most stable part of growing up would be in Graaff-Reinet.
Right.
And then in the Eastern Cape. Yeah.
Okay. And what's your fondest memory of time at Groenkloof?
Well, I love nature. I remember it being really, really hot in Groenkloof. I remember that the dam's water would run past in leifvoere, in waterways past the house.
Right.
And we would play for hours in this water that would come past the house and love it. Sometimes stealing someone else's water, when it's not. And then the owner of it in that time slot would come and look for it.
Yeah.
Find you fooling around and, just, take it back. Play for hours. It was the simple and the easy days, really.
Yeah. So did you go to school in Groenkloof?
I did, yeah. I went to Word Folk School.
Yeah.
The primary school were really, really, really small. There were about 25 people in the whole school. It was just outside Groenkloof in a place called Adendorp,
Right.
which is the pre-town. But high school, Word Folk School, yeah. And not that you figure it at the time, but those people become your support system, even if it's just a Facebook or in a surreal way, which you never would have imagined.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how, we cross paths with people as we go through life.
I love it.
And some of those people just kind of, there's like a synergy, isn't there?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. A vibe, a vibration.
Yeah.
And you feel it, you sense it, really.
Well, I should mention to people who are following the live stream that Anton is actually a counselor in psychology as well as having his hairstyling business. So he's got quite a few interesting areas of expertise. Now, getting back to Groenkloof, what happened after you? Why did you leave Groenkloof, and where did you go?
I finished high school in 91.
Yeah.
And in those days, it was a national service, compulsory national service. And I was called up to Bloemfontein, and I went. And soon thereafter, I thought, it feels like they were just going to chase us around. And someone suggested to do junior leaders. And I went, I got a transfer from Bloemfontein to Oudtshoorn, where I did jails and, did the training and became a lieutenant. So it was a wee easier in that respect. It was tough, but it was good getting away from just being chased around aimlessly.
Yeah, yeah. And being about the time when the ANC took power in 1994, did you ever actually have the opportunity to vote in an election or anything before that happened?
Yeah, well, around about that time, I remember having just left the army, having just started a career. It wasn't in what I'm in now. And I was about 19. I bought a townhouse and I lived. And I remember walking across the railway in Port Elizabeth to go and vote at the school. Yes.
Yeah. Was that for whether the ANC could come in and take power, that type of vote, or was it an election vote?
Yeah, it was that vote roundabout to participate and to give power.
Right.
Yeah.
Now talking about 1994, you in Pretoria would have seen a tremendous change happening in South Africa since that time. Tell me about the things that really stand out for you personally as things that have impacted on your life, have changed. How this change from the apartheid government to the post-1994 government has actually impacted you personally.
Well, I've become aware of the reversal of the apartheid, really. Having previously, you had the masses being disadvantaged to be swapped around for minority groups being disadvantaged. And the freedom and the rainbow nation that we dream about and that we reach for and really work for, in small ways, in building relationships with people around us and reaching out to people around us. And at some point you feel, does the little part that I play positively have an effect to bring people together and to create the change that we have in mind?
Right. And do you think that the ANC have gone off the rails when it comes to the Rainbow Nation?
Well, they're not being held accountable. They're not holding themselves accountable. And it's almost like working with color. If you work too much with color, you end up with a mud bath, and you're not sure what was your input. You're not sure what molecules are you dealing with anymore if you've had too much application.
Yeah.
And similarly, in this situation, I feel there's no accountability, and I'm not sure if half of them know what to do. And if the wise ones are being left out and being retired at an age where they could really be very useful.
Yeah. Well, it looks like the gangsters are running the state now, doesn't it?
God help us.
Yeah, you just have to look at what's going on with Eskom to see,
Definitely.
Now, just talking about Eskom, tell people around the world who are watching right now, how does load shedding impact on you and your business when the lights go out?
Well, just in my industry, I can at some point just render half a service, mid-foil, mid-color application, pre-color application. When you're having a consultation, the lights are out.
Yeah.
And you can't see your client properly, and you go and sit outside, because luckily in my circumstance, I could step outside and I can pull their chair and sit under the tree if we might.
Yeah.
But if you're in a mall, you really put out. Financially, you can lose half your docket in that very moment. And that's just in my industry. I've heard of a client today, yesterday, he was mid-operation doing a circumcision, and his practice power went off. He literally had to put stitches in, bandage, and send the chap to a different hospital. And that's severe. It's traumatic as it is. If you had to go.
That's awful. That's absolutely awful. I've heard some of the plastic molding companies, when the electricity goes off and the plastic kind of gets hard inside the mold, they can spend millions of rands trying to fix that, because it's
halfway through.
Yeah.
Yes, with warning.
Yeah. Now you touched on your job, which is hairstyling, and you're going to be helping us this weekend, which is fantastic. We really appreciate that. Could you explain to those who are watching right now exactly what it is that we are putting on auction here? Because I don't have the technical expertise. So if you can just sort of detail exactly what people will be getting for their makeover if they put a bid in.
Yeah, I'd love to. Color is complex. One has to know and have been on training a lot of the time to know exactly what's happening. If you pre-light bleach someone's hair and you end up with a color that's hidden underneath there, a crazy color, say pink, that you didn't bargain for and the person didn't tell you, you have to know how to neutralize that pink, because you can't always remove it,
right,
to power blonde. So one has to know the color concept and to know that every shaft of hair has got red, blue, yellow molecules in there. If you've got dark hair, you've got more blue molecules. If you've got blonde hair, you've got more yellow. That's the bleaching process. In the bleaching process, you remove color, and then there's a toning process that happens afterwards where you develop color. Mm-hmm. When you develop color, it's almost like that little crocodile that you throw, or that tablet that you throw in the water, and it grows to be a sponge crocodile.
Right.
Molecules are shapeless. They go into the hair. They grow and develop in a star formation with oxygen that they can't slip out of the hole where they went into. That's right. Permanent color. Yeah. So I'm going to be offering permanent color. I also work with semi-permanent and other techniques, but I'm going to be offering color. The application could vary from a tint, which is a paint-on application on the scalp, or foil capsules that you weave and choose the specific strands that you want to color. You fold it into a foil capsule, so you protect it. It grows in there, and it separates it from other hair that you want to keep a different color. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we can work with foil, we can work with tints, and cut and blow.
Okay, so you're basically offering the whole package of sorting out someone's hair. Yeah. Okay, now just on that particular makeover, we're talking about between about 1,200 to 3,000 rand normally per makeover. Is that correct? For a lady?
Yeah.
And for a gent, it's about 750 rand for the same thing. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So just for those who are following, in the side chat, if you would like to bid on one of these makeovers, there are 10 that have been offered by Anton. Just put in a bid, the amount that you're bidding, and how many makeovers you'd like to bid for. And I'm going to ask Dwayne to just keep a record of who the highest bidders are. And you can bid for all 10 if you like, at 500 rand if you like, which is a pretty damn good deal. And, you know, if you've got family or friends in Pretoria, you can gift them to them. So it's a really lovely offer that Anton's making here. Now, Anton, getting back to your other side of your life now, you're a counselor in psychology. Can you tell us exactly what that is?
Yeah, basically, it's the path to being a psychologist, just short of having written the dissertation. So instead of having gone route A, where you do a bachelor's, a honors, and a master's in psychology, with psychology being your major, during the honors, you choose to do it in time. So you haven't written the dissertation as part of your master's, but you've done it in, say, 2,000 hours.
Right.
With a company. It's almost like an apprenticeship. So after that, I did mine through Lifeline. I did about 2,000 hours on the telephone.
Wow.
I also did a bridging course with UNISA, and that empowered me to register and with the Health Profession Council. And I had a practice at the Groenkloof Life Hospital for a couple of years. And then, that's more or less how it works. So what differentiates a counselor's scope is slightly different, and you would refer to psychologists and to psychiatrists. And there are certain battery tests that you're not allowed to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
That means that when you're actually cutting someone's hair, they're pretty well getting two for the price of one, because you can probably sort of analyze them and help them unwind and whatever.
Yeah. It would be unethical if I charged them for both. So for the trauma counseling and put it on their medical aid and give them a color for free.
Well, you're going to be doing that this weekend, aren't you? We're going to have you joining us in the squatter camps, or the impoverishment camps, this Saturday and this Sunday, which is fantastic. Have you been to the impoverishment camps before, or is this your first time there?
I have been before. On many occasions, I've felt like doing something. So I'd pack my kit and pack my car and invite a few hairdressers, and we would either head in the direction of Krugersdorp or in, what is the other one, Danville. Yeah, I'm sorry if I mentioned, maybe I shouldn't mention the specific impoverished camps, but yeah, we would go and do hair. Yeah, what you encounter is quite something.
Yeah, have you noticed the position of the people in these impoverishment camps getting worse and worse as time goes by?
They are having a tough time.
Yeah.
They are having a tough time. If you put food in your mouth and if you have a bed to sleep in, you are really honored and blessed.
What, in these camps?
Well, no, at your house where you and I are. Right. So these people, no, not everyone has a bed. Not everyone has a shelter. No, it's not to say that you are in the camp that you do have, I'm sure there's a hierarchy as well in arriving and finding your place.
Yeah.
Many people are displaced, and there are gender-based violence within the camps, and there are discrimination even amongst the people, as much as you would think it's all, even if they are from the same ethnic groups, but they are experiencing the rough and the tough side of life, for sure.
So what's the most memorable thing you've seen in a impoverishment camp? I'm talking mainly about the white impoverishment camps.
Definitely, and when I have visited the camps, I have visited the white impoverished camps because I wanted to give to my people, to the people who are not being cared for, who are not being acknowledged, or not even finding under our government any assistance. And if it's not for programs like what you and other people are running, they would have nothing.
Yeah. Now, if you think about this, it's really going back to what it used to be like during the Boer War with these camps, isn't it?
Yeah, you can just put barbed wire around it, definitely. You can just entrap and enclose them, and then it would be like that. Yeah, and take the men away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think this is a deliberate policy by the ANC government?
Yes, I do. And also the hindrance to give them airtime, to give them national and international awareness and assistance. They keep the awareness away from them, and they keep the assistance away from them, and they keep them hidden as much as possible. Sure, we know about it, but nationally, I don't think everybody knows there's even camps where minority groups are.
Yeah.
And if they become aware of it, they're quite shocked.
Yeah. Well, we'll certainly be exposing that this weekend when we cover our food drop. We're going to be spending a lot of time in the impoverishment camps and meeting people and finding out their stories as well. Now, tell us a bit more about your work within the impoverishment camps in the past. I mean, have you been to quite a few of them? What is the worst one that you've come across? Is there a particular one that is just like the bottom of the barrel?
I've only been to the two, and more than one occasion. I haven't been there a dozen of times, no. Yeah. What I find, like in the one farther away from Pretoria, I wouldn't name names if you, I'm not sure.
Yeah, don't name names.
You want.
No.
Yeah. There's a young girl who's an international athlete, and recently she had a baby, and then she has help, and then she just has another baby because she gets help.
How do you
And
mean?
the cycle just repeats. She runs without shoes. That's her trademark.
Oh,
But it's a perpetuation of a cycle,
yeah,
and it's hard to break the cycle, and it's hard for them to break the cycle.
yeah. So what's the solution then?
I think they need healthcare. They need healthcare to start off with. They need workshops. The mind is a very difficult thing, but the mind, because most of the time, if you are in a difficult situation and you've got no reference of how you can deal with this, yeah, you can just spin down again, and yeah, the mind takes over. It thinks for itself, and there's no assistant programs to help these people and to teach them skills, to teach them coping skills, to teach them strategies how to change their lives and assistance.
Yeah. Do you think that they're just totally desperate and feel like the whole world has, abandoned them?
Yeah,
I mean, that would
if
be
you walk around,
yeah,
if you walk around there and see the children, you've got a sense of this is severe.
yeah,
I can still understand. Well, there's a lot of pressure on all different groups. I mean, if you the head of the household and you have to provide, but there's nothing, you know, the pressure on them must be intense. And again, different for the women because they experience it from a different angle, and they're having abuse on other levels that the men may not have. But the children, I think, are their future. And if we want to change their lives, we have to be able to break the cycle for the children and teach them. May it be skills, may it be wellness, may it be to grow their own crops, to tend their gardens, to care
yeah.
for their home. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the projects we're trying to sort of get off the ground, where impoverished whites can actually go and work on farmland and actually have some hope and do something that's beneficial. Um, but clearly, from what you've seen in the white impoverishment camps, I mean, there is just this complete desperation and complete loss that people feel there.
And it is a feeling, and I think it tackles them and their mood. I've asked people if you were somewhere between being really down and out, and you can choose to get away from that and to be cared for.
Yeah.
What amount would you choose between 0 and 10? If really down and out is 0 and cared for is 10, their average score would be 3.
Wow.
And their aim would easily be 8, 9, 10.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, have these people been in those squatter camps for a long, long time, or they're just more and more people landing up in these impoverishment camps? I mean, what is the situation? Is it a growing community?
Some people have been in these camps for a long, long time, but they're just growing by the day, and more people arriving with the BEE policy where whites don't get jobs. More specifically the men, but definitely the women. I mean, they just don't have access to the market. And where do you go if you haven't got money and if you haven't got food?
Yeah.
And they're in these camps completely desperate.
Wow. So the people we're going to be meeting this weekend will be representative of what you're talking about. They'll be, feeling totally left out on their own.
I have been quite mindful to take photographs, but there were a time when I went to a camp in Pretoria, and as much as it could be, there's depth to these people because they've seen the tough part of life, but it can break your heart to see the children, to see how they look, because you can see the suffering on their faces. You can see that they're not all round and well.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because one of our channel heroes, Darby, has asked me to play a piece of music at the start of our live streams on the weekend, and it's called The Silent Cry of the Boer. And it is quite amazing when you look at the history of the Afrikaner, but in particular the Boer people, and the persecution they've suffered right through the generations. It's extraordinary. But what are your views on that? Do you think this is just something that is, been in the wrong place at the wrong time?
Well, sometimes you have to take a wrong turn to get to the right destination, but I think it's to the contrary now, what's happening to our people, my people. I'm Afrikaans, and grew up in Afrikaans society, obviously English, and in those years it were the English and the Afrikaans. Please repeat the last part of your question.
I was just asking about whether you felt that the Boer people, it's almost like their whole journey has been involved with persecution. And I said, do you think that's by design, or is this something that's just somehow it's going the wrong way for the Afrikaans and the Boer people?
Well, I think it's a multifaceted answer. There is an aspect of suppression, and where there's no opportunity for the Afrikaans people, and even their language are being taken away from them in statutory position schools. That's a whole nother discussion. But definitely there is a challenge. But if you look at the Boer people and how they have come through, not all of them, but a minority of the minority group, there are some people who really has a fighting spirit and who's willing to fight for their right and their livelihood.
Yeah.
And they do. And not all people just fall down within the group and end up in these disadvantaged positions. So there are people who excel and who are able to defend the others.
Yeah.
But if you think how we came through the Boer war and how we defended ourselves to claim our livelihood, we had to. There was just no other way.
Yeah.
And I feel within our spirit as a people, we have that fighting spirit, and we should stand up for our people.
Yeah. What I find, what I find quite extraordinary is that the Boers and the Afrikaners that I've got to know so well through this channel, they do have a fighting spirit. They work together. We've got the farmers in Bultfontein, and the stuff they're doing is absolutely amazing. despite all the issues they're
Challenging.
facing. And
Yeah.
what I find extraordinary, it's almost like we're in a time warp now, because if you look at what's happening around the rest of the world with all the immoral behavior and drugs and um, the things that are happening in places like America and Europe, and they're going into a chaotic situation. And here in South Africa, you've got like a kernel or a small group, which is the minority Afrikaners, who tend to still have that old point of view with life, and that they seem to be in a totally different age to the way the rest of the world is going. And I think they've got it right. I think the Afrikaners have got it right. I think the rest of the world is actually, going on a road to hell, if I can put it that way. What are your thoughts on that?
It's shocking how it has just, I don't want to say all of a sudden, because if you look at just pollution, I mean, since the 80s, we have had a continent of waste in the sea that we weren't aware of.
Yeah.
But even so, I feel it's been unaddressed for long. I feel all of a sudden it's just like mushroomed all around the world. And as much as we are disadvantaged and impoverished here, there's hope. And even in the very, 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 very difficult, and other people around the world may not know what these people in specifically in South Africa are going through. It's traumatic times. You have to see a psychologist just to live here. There are very big challenges for us daily.
Yeah.
At the road, on the way to work, on the highway, in the neighborhoods. It's just unreal, and it seems like it's just mushroomed around the world, but around the world in a more, if we can speak in a spiritual way, like you say, it's almost in a dark way. It's very interesting, like you say.
Yeah. And the hostility that the black majority group are now showing towards the white minority group, from what I'm hearing, is becoming more and more extreme.
That they can get away with is unreal. I can't believe that you can say these things and it's not classified as hate speech. But if a white Afrikaans person had to say the same thing about them, he'd be in jail the very next day.
Yeah, for 3 years. Yeah, like Vicky Momberg. I mean, that is just appalling what happened there when you look at the circumstances.
The authority, just because they've got, in Afrikaans they would say, hulle die hef in die hand, meaning they've got the knife in the hand. It doesn't have to be a knife, it could just be a handle, but just because they've got the handle in their hands, they think they could treat us that way. And some people like and accept it. And some people have spent, look, it's not everybody, but many people have spent years trying to find a job. And you think, well, get a job. No, it's not possible for everybody. They don't have the option.
Do you think the indoctrination of the younger black population is one of the big problems or the big challenges South Africa faces today? Because clearly, they seem to be far more antagonistic towards other race groups, even xenophobic towards people who come from Zimbabwe and so on.
Yeah, speaking for myself, I can't speak for anyone else, but I come from a nurturing, loving environment.
Yeah.
And when I deal with anybody, anything, any situation, I deal with it in a loving way. How can I add love to this situation? That's my mindset. Now, I can't say that of of many or all people, because how many times as a white guy have I made space for another cultural person to walk before me,
Yeah.
to walk in front of me, come past, and to have a gesture of hi, hello, unjani, how's things, or smile. But what I find, and I've had enough of it, and not in a negative way, I'm just fulfilled, I don't choose more of it, is thinking, I've done so much, so little, if you like, to close the gap between the cultures, to close or to cross the bridge between us and them. And I use that sparingly. And then after having done it for so many years, you come to a place you say, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I shall walk first sometimes. I shall not give space. I deserve a little walkway myself. And that's a harsh place to get to when you come from nurture, a loving. That's a hard place and a decision to make, to say, but I deserve a space and a place for me and my people.
Yeah. Well, that's certainly, I think a lot of people are sort of reaching that bridge as well. Yeah, in their
You
lives.
become full. You're not full, you're not fed up, you're just fulfilled. But yeah, you feel like, I just want to have some breathing space for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, just for a second, I'm just going to go to the side chat and to the people who are following. Please remember, guys, we're auctioning 10 makeovers, which Anton is donating. The money will go to Patrick's charity. And to bid, you just put bid against your name, the amount of rands you want to bid for each makeover. As I say, they're up to 10, so you can put in bid, say 500 rand, and then say 5 makeovers or something like that. So you can decide what you want to bid on those. Just for the record, a makeover for ladies is normally between about 1,200 rand to 3,000 rand. So, you could get a really inexpensive makeover. And for gents, it's about 750 rand per makeover, which includes the cut and the color and so on. So, okay, now I've got a question here. Petrus Oosthuizen asks, please ask Anton what he thinks as a psychologist about political brainwashing going on in South Africa.
Really, you've asked that question yourself, Scott, and I haven't answered that in the previous question. Sorry about that. Yeah, there's a sense of entitlement, a sense of we own the land. When I cross the road, I can walk like cattle does, and you wait until we've crossed the road. It's just that brainwashing to make them think they can do whatever they like.
Yeah.
From sorting out and murdering a person who stole a cell phone in the squatter camp, and I use that specifically, they can just catch him and kill him and nothing comes of it. And that example and just make them think, well, we can take the law in our own hands. It's okay.
Yeah.
Nothing ever happens about it. So that brainwashing and letting people know, you vote for us, we give you this. And the stupidity of not having learned that you haven't received what you were told. And yeah, it's a complete brainwashing. You're right.
Do you think that this comes from the top? From Ramaphosa down?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the other two, EFF and their sidekicks.
Well, The thing that I found very disturbing in the last week was that the red ants, who are the mob who go in and basically kick illegal squatters off land that is privately owned, have had their license suspended so they can no longer operate, which basically opens up the doors for people just to go and occupy private land, and nothing's going to be done about it anymore.
Yeah. Just like that.
Yeah. So things in South Africa are changing dramatically in a very negative way.
Well, I've just read that the gross national profit has dropped from 450 billion to 300 billion in the last 18 months.
Wow. That's a huge drop, isn't it?
Yes.
Really huge. Okay, guys, now, are there any questions people would like to ask in the side chat? Please go ahead. I see that Dwayne is moderating there in a very good way. Thanks, Dwayne. While we're waiting for those questions to come through, what would you like to see happen in South Africa? What do you think the cure is? What do you think the way forward is for South Africa to get out of this mess that it's in?
Get rid of BEE.
Yeah.
Equal opportunity for all, irrespective of your race, your age, your sexuality, your orientation. Equal opportunity for all to say, you know what? Let's create goodness amongst all. And the way to remove that undercurrent hatred either way is to get rid of BE. It's been long enough. There could be other incentives. There could be other systems in place. But everybody should have the same opportunity. Because if you think of creation, whether you're spiritualist, whether you're antagonist, whether you don't believe at all, who cares? I'm not the type who like to transform a person. I love people really for how they are, for who they are. But whoever you are, I think in the creation process of how you're born, you know, we sort of equal in our design in having a body. Yeah, some people are born into really impoverished families. I get that, I hear you. But with our body, we are equally created, equally yoked. So give us an opportunity for all people to have a job, to care for their young, to have an education, and to be able to find a job.
Yeah. Talking of...
Yeah,
sorry, carry on.
I don't know if it's far-fetched, but you know what? We are so indoctrinated to think that there isn't, you know, that scarcity a vibe. We are so indoctrinated to think that we have to pay a big price for everything. I mean, the whole population of the world can fit into Alaska with each acre of land, you know, for every family. So we have space, we have resources, we're just not distributing it equally.
Yeah. So when we talk about land being distributed, what are your feelings about expropriation of land without compensation?
You know what? If I were at the head of the country, I would give people land. But I wouldn't give them land previously owned. I would give them new land.
Yeah, because they've got a lot of government land.
Give them land, give them an acre, give them whatever. Give everybody an acre who hasn't got an acre, so to speak.
Yeah.
We've got enough.
Yeah.
You know, I sit at the table eating with my household. Esther, I call her mummy, and she's just such a darling, such a saint being. I ask her, could I dish you more? She says, no, I am enough. And I'm like, exactly. And I
Yeah,
love you for it. To have a sense of I don't need. And you know what? Whether I have or whether I haven't got, I give. In that giving, I have an experience of having.
yeah,
It's a mindset. So I teach myself always to give. And if I have an excuse, I will say, I have, but I'm not willing to part with this, what is in my hand. I wouldn't say I haven't got. Because then I teach myself, oh, I haven't got, I haven't got. I'd say, no, I've got some dough in my hand, but hey, I'd like to hang on to this, but I've got to do something with this.
yeah,
And then I'm truthful, and then I'm real, and then it grows inside of me, that mindset. Um, yeah, I would give every man, every family a small piece of land where he can build, and I wouldn't build another shack, God forbid. I'll build huts. Because if you fly in from another country and you fly in here and you say, oh my goodness, look at it. It looks like a kingdom. It looks like there's power here, there's strength here. In the old days, they have manipulated people. Well, this is the old government, sorry to go there, but they've manipulated people to say you're not allowed to build randomly. They put during drought, they put barbed wire on the paths where the people walk to say, we're going to control you. You're going to walk in block formation, ding, 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 not as the crow flies. And that's just so interesting how they want to control people and tell them how to think. Allow people to be more natural, more in tune with the land, because it's more natural. Look at the Chinese, besides what they're doing to the world, look at their agriculture. See how it's not all square, it's not all blocks, and they're using every little piece of the land because it's got curves.
yeah,
And that's just a different mindset and in tune with the environment. And my friend Mia would tell you she's been to these agricultural workshops, how to work with nature, how to work with the land,
yeah.
and not dig but to layer. What do you call that agriculture when they permaculture? It just makes sense. We have to find a new mindset. If I can sit with Ramaphosa just one day, I'd say, listen, we have to look at it from a different angle, because I don't know how to say this in English. I'm going to say it in Afrikaans
Say
and
it in
see if I can
Afrikaans.
translate. Ja, invalshoek is gelijk aan uitvalshoek. The angle of which something falls in, light falls in, is the angle of which it falls out. So if you find that the angle of your results is not working, you've got to go and sit and see the infall, how it falls in. And you have to change the angle of how the refraction input. And they're not getting that right. I mean, it's not rocket science.
Yeah,
I'm not a scientist, but I can figure that.
yeah. Now, Jack Stander has asked, he says, ask Anton what his personal thoughts are on corruption. Does he think that there is any hope for South Africa with the current leadership?
Well, with the current leadership, gee whiskers, we had 20 years and the last 9 has been catastrophic. We have to change the law. If they catch you steal, they've got to do something severe to you. Like, I'm not sure what other country has just done that, but they've got the death penalty within government. If you are corrupt, they hang you.
Yeah,
I'm not hang people, but you have to have a punishment. You have to say the other disciplines haven't worked. The other approach hasn't stopped you from being corrupt. In our government at the moment, I don't trust them. I don't believe they can. I really like the idea of the businessman in Ramaphosa, bless him. But you know what? He has stood by and watched the corruption. He was number two.
Yeah, he was.
You know, he should have opened his mouth and he should have put his foot down at an angle to say, no, 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 no. He hasn't.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's on his shoulders and he's feeling it.
Yeah. Now, don't you think that Ramaphosa is in a very precarious position right now? Because clearly Ace Magashula and the Zuma camp are lobbying to try and get their influence right through the parliamentary system, and in such a way that if the public protector, who's now said that Ramaphosa was money laundering and they're investigating him, which could be a cause for impeachment, that you could have, God hope this never happens, but you could have someone like David Mabuza come in, who's the deputy president, as president. And that fellow is so corrupt, and he had hit squads that took out his political opponents and things like that. Imagine that as a president in South Africa. I mean, wouldn't that be going the wrong way?
Well, indeed it is, and it could very well be. At this moment, the businessman within Ramaphosa has a flicker of light, but the ANC head Ramaphosa is corrupt.
Yeah.
So in that way, yeah, we're heading for the fall.
Yeah. Okay, now, on that very positive note, sorry, you got to laugh or you cry. Any further questions in the side chat? And please, guys, remember, there are 10 makeovers. I don't know how many have been bid on yet, but they are transferable. So if you got family or friends in Pretoria, you can actually transfer them to them. And, you're getting an amazing deal here. And all the money donated goes directly to Patrick and his charity.
I think it's just important that you mention it's in the Pretoria.
Yeah. I've got it actually written. I've got it written in the comments down below.
Okay, unless if someone is really extravagant and they need it in another city or country and could facilitate that. That could. Well,
they'd have to fly you over there, wouldn't they?
Get cheap flights these days.
True. All right. No further question, guys? Well, I have a question for you. You're going to be with us this weekend, and you're going to be donating your time and making the ladies in these impoverishment camps feel special. How does that make you feel when you're actually doing this? Do you feel like a sense of well-being? And what is your great reward for helping people?
I forget about myself. I cross out the I, that sense of self, that ego, that idea of who I am, who I think I am, and putting others first and spending time with them.
Yeah.
Someone asked me recently when I went to one of these camps, he asked, "Why are you here?" And that choked me.
Yeah.
To the core.
Yeah.
It had me to introspect and ask the question, why am I here? And what came up immediately is, by experiencing you, by caring for you, by loving you in a construct way as opposed to abstract, I really forget about my own circumstances. And it's not like my circumstances is traumatic, dramatic, or difficult, or whatever. It just is liberating to put others before yourself
Yeah. Yeah.
in a big way, because now you can go into a conveyor belt idea where it's just one after the other, boom, 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 boom. And there's nothing in that either. One has to have the time to chat with them.
Have the connection.
Even if it's a simple therapeutic connection to say, I am here for you and because of you.
Right.
I'm here because of what you need. I'm here because you exist. And I've put aside my world to experience yours. And by experiencing yours, I value, understand, and love you, and mine makes sense somehow. But definitely to have time to have a catharsis.
Yeah.
That the person in the chair, and preferably I take a mirror, and I don't sit right up in front of the mirror as a confrontation to, oh, look what I look like. Oh, I've gotten old. Oh, all that judgment. But I suppose part of the release is that judgment too. But you sitting in front of the mirror and seeing your higher self there transforming, almost that part that you say, I and myself. If one listened to people like Eckhart Tolle, where he says, I could no longer live with myself, then you realize this duality of I, myself. And when you realize that, it's almost like the one is the true nature, you, and the other one is almost a sense of self, that ego, that false sense, will you not? And when you can realize that, you're getting closer to finding and being yourself. I like to work on that levels, and a very simple question that I ask. If you are on a scale 0 to 10 and your life is wherever it may be and you want to change to anywhere you want to be, what would you choose? Acknowledge where you are, choose a digit on the scale where you'd like to be. I guide you not too far, because far left is equally unbalanced as far right. Choose a simple digit away from the unhappy place where you may be. And then how do you do it? Generically, how do you change? You have to turn your back on where you are and look in the direction of where you want to go to. And generically, that answers a lot of questions. And it's a simple tool to say, my God, I'm here, I don't like it, what am I going to do? I want to be there. I've got to step away from where I'm at. And I have to actively go in this direction. And people are willing for this. People would like to change.
Yeah.
They just don't know how, and they don't always have the tools.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us here this evening, guys. We've had a really interesting discussion with Anton. If you want to have your hair styled or done, I've got Anton's contact details down below the video here, so just contact him direct. And this is we're going to be shutting down the channel in a couple of minutes, so or shutting down the live stream in a couple of minutes. So if you want to put a bid in for the makeovers, now is the time, because I think there's still about 8 to go, aren't they, Dwayne? Oh, that's good news, Dwayne, about Patrick. Excellent. Okay, I think we've pretty well covered everything. Is there anything you'd like to say to people who are watching the live stream at the moment, Anton? Any message you'd like to send out to people?
Yeah. I think we spent far too much time in the past. I think we spent far too much time worrying about the future. We have to become more present. We have to be alert and awake with all of our senses, and all of the senses that you haven't even used in a very long time, in absorbing now. And in that awareness, the fear falls away. The fear of loving others, the fear of facing your situation, and being able to reach out and join hands with those around us. I feel it's not difficult. It's actually quite easy. Yes, I'm not saying sit by the river and watch the water flow by, and this is now. Sometimes you have to go and see where it comes from, and sometimes you have to go and check out where it's going to. Make plans, but do not allow the past and the future to keep you captive. Be fully present and live a joyful, happy life as much as possible. If you have issues, if you have troubles, put it on a glass shelf and put it aside somewhere here. Take it off, deal with it, put it back on the shelf. Not have it here. Not have it in your head, not rehash the hash brown all the time. No. Clear your head. Have that place free from troubles. Get it out, put it here, discuss it with someone, share it in the appropriate moment, but not all moments.
Okay, fantastic. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up the live stream very, very shortly. If you want to get a bid in, you better be quick, because once this shuts down, that's the end of the auction. Yeah, Craig says most white people in South Africa don't realize how good they have it. We are cut off from a lot of the harsh reality living in the suburbs.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you for having me around. Thank you for organizing this weekend where we had the opportunity to go and serve and to reach out and change lives.
I think you used a very, very important word there, and that is serve. You know, we are, this channel has an amazing community, and we are just honored to be able to help where we can. And I just want to take this moment in time to thank everyone who's participating in the weekend that's coming up. We've got I think about 50 people in total who will be involved in one way or the other, which is a huge number of people when you consider this is only our second food drive for the impoverishment camps. And I'm really excited. I think we're going to see some wonderful things happen this weekend. I really do. And to all the team who's working with us, thanks, guys. You're doing a fantastic job. And I'll be here at 8 p.m. tomorrow night, Johannesburg time, where you'll actually get to meet and greet the farmers who are coming up with a huge amount of food, and you'll be able to see the food that's going to be distributed over the weekend. And the clothing, we got tons of clothing and toys and stuff like that, which are going to be distributed in these white impoverishment camps as well this weekend. So for those who've bid for the makeover, I see Belinda's just bid for one. Thanks, Belinda. That's great. If you can just send me an email, I'll just put my email in here. And once you've donated the money to Patrick's PayPal account, and I'll when you email me, I'll give you the PayPal account for Patrick. Once you've done that, I'll then get in touch with Anton, and he will organize your makeover for you. All right, guys. There are no more bids for the makeovers. I think we've got 3 or 4 now.
Yeah.
And don't forget, you can actually give them to family and friends who live in Pretoria.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to shut off the live stream now. Have a lovely weekend, and I hope that we see you in the side chat during the live stream coverage of the food delivery. Take care, all, and thank you so much for being part of the show tonight. And thank you, Anton. It's been lovely to have you on, and we'll see you definitely over the weekend.
Very much. Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay. Tot ziens, everybody. Take care.
Bye.